Kent E. Hovind, born January 15, 1953, is an American Christian fundamentalist, evangelist and tax protester. He is a controversial figure in the Young Earth Creationist movement, and his ministry focuses on attempting to convince listeners to deny scientific theories in fields including biology, evolution, geophysics, and cosmology in favor of a literalist interpretation of the Genesis creation narrative found in the Bible. Hovind's views, which combine elements of creation science and conspiracy theory, are dismissed by the scientific community as fringe theory and pseudo-scholarship. He has been criticized by Young Earth Creationist organizations like Answers in Genesis for his continued use of discredited arguments that have been abandoned by others in the movement. Hovind established Creation Science Evangelism, CSE, in 1989 and Dinosaur Adventureland in 2001 in Pensacola, Florida. He frequently spoke on Young Earth creationism in schools, churches, debates, and on radio and television broadcasts. His son Eric Hovind took over operation of CSE after Hovind began serving a 10-year prison sentence in January 2007 for federal court convictions for failing to pay taxes, obstructing federal agents, and structuring cash transactions. In a separate federal court case in early 2015, a federal court jury found Hovind guilty of contempt of court in connection with a charge of disobeying a prior court order. The trial court, however, threw out the verdict and rendered a judgment of acquittal, concluding that Hovind could not have disobeyed that order. Biography. At the age of 16, Hovind became a born-again Christian within the Independent Fundamental Baptist Church. He married his wife Jo in 1973 and they had 3 children between 1977 and 1979. Between 1975 and 1988, Hovind served as an assistant pastor and teacher at 3 private Baptist schools, including one he started. In 1989, the family moved to Pensacola, Florida, where Jo would attend Pensacola Christian College and would earn a bachelor's degree in music and master's degrees in music and sacred music. In 1989, Hovind started Creation Science Evangelism. In 1998, he created his Dr. Dino website and began producing articles and selling videotapes, books, and fossil replicas. Prior to his incarceration, Hovind had numerous speaking engagements, around 700 in 2004, at churches, private schools, and other venues each year, in addition to hosting a daily internet radio talk show and establishing Dinosaur Adventureland in Pensacola, Florida. In 1999, his son Eric Hovind began traveling to present his arguments and seminars. Kent and Jo divorced in 2016. Education. In 1971, he graduated from East Peoria Community High School in East Peoria, Illinois. He entered the accredited Illinois Central College, then transferred to the unaccredited Midwestern Baptist College in 1972, attaining a Bachelor of Religious Education in 1974. In 1988 and 1991 respectively, Hovind received a master's degree and doctorate in Christian education through correspondence from, also unaccredited, Patriot University in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Having a website called Dr. Dino has provoked some academics to look closely at how Hovind presents his education and credentials. All his known degrees are from unaccredited institutions, and he has no training in paleontology. Barbara Forrest, a professor of philosophy, expert on the history of creationism and activist in the creation-evolution controversy, wrote that Hovind's lack of training makes academic discussion impossible and has said that his understanding of historical and scientific research is deficient. Patriot University is a diploma mill. Karen Bartelt, an organic chemistry professor who debated Hovind, examined Hovind's dissertation and found it is incomplete, contains numerous spelling errors, lacks references, shows flawed reasoning, and states that it does not present any original research. Creation Science Evangelism and Creation Today. Hovind established Creation Science Evangelism in 1989 to evangelize and teach creationism. In May 1999, his son Eric joined Creation Science Evangelism as a speaker, and his daughter Marlissa began training to become Hovind's secretary. That year, CSE merged with Faith Baptist Fellowship of Hawthorne, Florida, beginning a relationship that lasted until 2002. In 2003, with the aid of Glenn Stahl, a promoter of tax avoidance schemes, Hovind set up a series of entities starting with an unincorporated association of pure trust on May 13, under which a corporation sole and several ministerial trusts were established starting on May 23. CSE properties were conveyed to the trusts which operated under business licenses from the Kingdom of Heaven. Hovind is associated with the Unregistered Baptist Fellowship, UBF, a loosely affiliated group of roughly 100 churches which share a theology of Christian resistance to civil governments. Because the UBF would consider it an acknowledgement of government authority over the church, they reject the highly favorable 501(c)(3) status, which makes donations tax deductible and exempts them from income tax, but not FICA taxes or employee income tax withholding. The UBF holds that governmental authority stops at the threshold of the Church, and Hovind has likened his ministry's status to that of the Vatican City-State. When the federal government obtained a search warrant in 2004, an Internal Revenue Service (IRS) criminal investigator made the sworn statement that the organization did not have a business license and did not have tax-exempt status. Hovind was convicted of 58 felony counts in November 2006 and sentenced to 10 years in prison in January 2007. Eric Hovind announced that he would take over Creation Science Evangelism. In July 2007, God Quest Incorporated was incorporated with Eric Hovind as president, and that November, God Quest Incorporated filed in Florida to do business under the trade name Creation Science Evangelism. In June 2008, Eric announced that the CSE website would incorporate the CSE blog and change format, allowing for only positive comments about Hovind and CSE, and in late 2011, Creation Science Evangelism's drdino.com website was redirected to creationtoday.org. The new website announced Creation Today is a ministry of God Quest, Inc. with focus on creation, apologetic, and evangelism. Dinosaur Adventureland. In 2001, Hovind started Dinosaur Adventureland, a Young Earth Creationist theme park located behind Hovind's home in Pensacola, Florida. With the slogan, "Where Dinosaurs and the Bible Meet," the facility on roughly 7 acres had an indoor science center and an outdoor space with a variety of simple dinosaur-themed rides and activities, each of which was tied to some religious message. For example, the Jumposaurus was a trampoline next to a basketball hoop. Children would have 1 minute to make as many baskets as they could, and the message was that you have to be coordinated to do more for Jesus. Annual attendance was 38,000. The park depicted humans and dinosaurs coexisting in the last 4,0006,000 years and also contains a depiction of the Loch Ness Monster. The Southern Poverty Law Center said the park also claims that a few small dinosaurs still roam the planet. A 2004 Skeptical Inquirer article discussed a visit to Hovind's dinosaur theme park and concluded that the park is deceptive on many levels. In reports of the National Center for Science Education, George Allen Alderman described it as essentially a playground with a few exhibits, several fiberglass dinosaurs, a climbing wall, and a couple of buildings. He summarized it as shabby. The venture encountered legal issues when the owners did not get a building permit in 2002, see below. In April 2006, Escambia County officials closed the building in question. In July 2009, the courts ruled that the properties could be seized and sold to satisfy Hovind's criminal penalties, see below. Eric Hovind kept the park and CSE operating throughout 2008, but in July 2009, a judge allowed the government seizure to proceed. In August 2009, Dinosaur Adventureland's website announced it was closed, and CSE announced its reopening as the Creation Store in November 2010. In April 2016, Hovind discussed plans for a new Dinosaur Adventureland with commissioners in Conecuh County, Alabama. Hovind proposed to buy land and improve the adjoining county road at his expense. The county engineer noted that procedures would have to be followed. The proposal also included an 80-foot-tall model dinosaur which would be the largest in the state. He purchased a different property near Repton, Alabama in the same county, and by June, volunteers were working there. Creationism. The Hovind theory. Hovind presented a version of young Earth creationism he calls the Hovind theory in lectures and in the book Unmasking the False Religion of Evolution. The Hovind theory is entirely rejected in the scientific community, and its plausibility has been criticized by other young Earth creationists. In the theory, dinosaurs and humans coexisted and Tyrannosaurus rex was a vegetarian prior to the fall of man. Hovind expands upon the early 20th century vapor canopy concept of a protective shield that made Earth a relative paradise between the expulsion from paradise and Noah's flood. The flood is expressed as a function of natural rather than miraculous processes. Noah's family and two of every kind of animal, including dinosaurs, which fit because babies were taken aboard and conditions allowed larger humans, making the ark's size, based on cubits, larger, boarded Noah's Ark before an ice meteor impacted the Earth. Fragments from the meteor caused planetary rings and impact craters on the Moon and other solar system bodies. The remainder were drawn to the north and south poles by the Earth's magnetic field as cataclysmic snowfall which buried the mammoths standing up. The ice on the poles cracked the Earth's crust, releasing the fountains of the deep. According to Hovind, these events caused an ice age, and made the Earth wobble around, collapsing the vapor canopy that protected it. In the next few months of the flood, the dead animals and plants were buried, and became oil, coal, and fossils. The last months of the flood included geological instability, when the plates shifted, forming ocean basins and mountain ranges. The Grand Canyon was formed in a couple of weeks during this time. Criticism from creationists. In a rare case of open dissent within the movement over the substance of creation science, Answers in Genesis, AIG, published a 2002 position paper titled, Arguments We Think Creationists Should Not Use. After Hovind issued a point-by-point rebuttal, Carl Wieland, Ken Ham, and Jonathan Sarfati of AIG wrote that the claims made by Hovind were fraudulent and contained mistakes in facts and logic which do the creationist cause no good. In particular, AIG criticized Hovind for persistently discredited or false arguments as well as fraudulent claims from Ron Wyatt, and described one of Hovind's claims as self-refuting. Rancorous disagreements resulted in AIG splitting into US and Australian chapters in 2005. The Australian branch, renamed Creation Ministries International, CMI, maintained content critical of Hovind on their website, while the US branch, led by Ken Ham, removed it. In 2009, CMI said that they had relaxed their stance because CSE's revamped website had removed some of Hovind's claims to which they objected. Greg Naiman, an Old Earth creationist who runs the Old Earth Ministries website, renamed from Answers in Creation, writes that Hovind's articles about humans and dinosaurs coexisting are unsupported by evidence and that they embarrass the young Earth creation science community as a whole. To the Orthodox Jewish creationist, Hovind's approach relies upon a strict literal reading of the King James translation. Where Jews interpret the Hebrew through Talmud and Midrash, Hovind relies on a direct reading of English. For example, Hovind claims that the word dinosaur, which was introduced to English in 1841, refers to what previously had been called dragon. Dragon is used where tannin, Hebrew, appears, but it means serpent or crocodile. Anti-evolution claims. Hovind contends that Darwinism produced communism, socialism, Nazism, abortion, liberalism, and the New Age movement. He blamed the forced Cherokee resettlement on a belief in evolution, although the Trail of Tears preceded origin of species by roughly 2 decades. Hovind maintains that biology textbooks are lying in order to brainwash youth. He said, Satan is using evolution theory to make kids go to hell. Hovind claims he is not trying to eliminate evolution from schools, but says schools should teach both viewpoints. Hovind said that in order to forge missing link transitional fossils to support human evolution, the Smithsonian Institution has 33,000 sets of human remains in its basement, some taken alive, murder. In an interview prior to speaking at Kent State University, Hovind said you should have another rebellion here at Kent State and do it for the right reason, the reason being protesting evolution, and referred to the Kent State shootings when he added, this time, don't get shot. In the PseudoScience of Cryptozoology, Hovind published and co-authored Claws, Jaws, and Dinosaurs with William Gibbons, another creationist who has searched for dinosaurs in the Congo under the belief that discovering a cryptid would somehow undermine evolutionary theory and that dinosaurs were dragons. Dinosaur Adventureland had displays about the existence of the Loch Ness Monster and Beowulf as history rather than legend. Debates. Prior to his convictions, Hovind was a prolific debater. While Hovind campaigns against evolution, the level of support for evolution is essentially universal within the scientific community and academia, while support for creationism is minimal among scientists in general, and virtually non-existent among those in the relevant fields, biology, paleontology, geology, etc. Chn and L. A. Buckland classify his debate style, common among young Earth creationists, as heuristic, focused on winning by rhetoric rather than illuminating by careful examination of evidence. In 1993, Hovind announced that he would be debating the renowned evolutionary biologist, Stephen Jay Gould, who had a long-standing opposition to debating creationists and had turned down numerous challenges. When contacted about the announcement, Gould said he had never heard of Hovind, much less agreed to debate. In May 2004, Michael Shermer debated Hovind in front of a predominantly creationist audience. Shermer claimed the exchange was not an intellectual exercise, but rather an emotional drama, and concluded, unless there is a subject that is truly debatable with a format that is fair, in a forum that is balanced, it only serves to belittle both the magisterium of science and the magisterium of religion. Massimo Pigliucci also debated Hovind, and expressed surprise at Hovind's ignorance of evolutionary theory. Pigliucci recalled Hovind tried to convince the audience that evolutionists believe humans came from rocks and subsequently evolved from bananas. William Reville, director of microscopy at University College Cork, wrote that Hovind's ideas are not rational or scientific because they are not testable. Hovind has repeatedly declined offers for written debates where his claims would be scrutinized by scientists, including his decline of a debate offer from Dave Thomas. During a debate with Farrell Till, Hovind said that Donald Johanson had uncovered the leg bones of Lucy at a different site over a mile away from the reported site, in a deeper stratum, quipping, "I would like to know how fast the train was going that hit that chimpanzee." This was clearly contrary to the published statements by Johanson. After Hovind had been informed in 1993 that his statement was false, he agreed to stop using the claim. When he repeated the claim in 1995, he once more agreed he was in error. $250,000 offer. In 1990, Hovind made a $10,000 offer to anyone who could meet a set of requirements he said would prove evolution, and he later raised the amount to $250,000. In 2007, Creation Science Evangelism removed the offer from its website. I have a standing offer of $250,000 to anyone who can give any empirical evidence, scientific proof, for evolution. My $250,000 offer demonstrates that the hypothesis of evolution is nothing more than a religious belief. Note, when I use the word evolution, I am not referring to the minor variations found in all of the various life forms, microevolution. I am referring to the general theory of evolution, which believes these 5 major events took place without God. One time, space and matter came into existence by themselves. 2 planets and stars formed from space dust. 3 matter created life by itself. 4 early life forms learned to reproduce themselves. 5 major changes occurred between these diverse life forms, i.e., fish changed to amphibians, amphibians changed to reptiles, and reptiles changed to birds or mammals. The premises of Hovind's offer have been rejected both by scientists and fellow creationists as fundamentally flawed. Hovind's conditions would require a claimant to not only prove the theory of evolution, but also abiogenesis, astrophysics, and cosmology, and additionally prove that no gods could possibly exist. The judges would be handpicked without assurances that they would be unbiased or qualified to assess the merit of claims, and it is possible that no panel was convened when a claim was submitted. Some forms of evidence would be excluded prior to judging. Answers in Genesis dismissed the challenge as a gimmick. 172.3. A 2005 challenge on Boing Boing offered $250,000 to anyone who could prove that the flying spaghetti monster, the deity of a parody religion constructed to make a point about giving time to alternative views on evolution, was not the father of Jesus. Political activity. In 1999, a Bradenton, Florida pastor asked the school board to consider adding creationism to the curriculum. The school board chairman's actions raised issues when, in his capacity as a citizen, he helped fund a series of seminars by Hovind, but he was within ethical guidelines. More controversy was raised when a school employee was sent to videotape the lectures, although without intention for rebroadcast. Ultimately, there was no curriculum change. Hovind was criticized for his involvement with Arkansas State Representative Jim Holt's anti-evolution bill in 2001, House Bill 2548. This bill would have required that when public schools refer to evolution that it be identified as an unproven theory. Opponents of the bill worried that it would subject Arkansas to the same type of derision that occurred when the state's balanced treatment law was struck down in McLean v. Arkansas. Holt called upon Hovind as an expert who testified for Holt before the State Agencies and Governmental Affairs Committee, alleging much of the information pertaining to evolution in our science textbooks is false. In 2007, David Vitter added a $100,000 earmark in a U.S. Senate appropriations bill, directed towards the Louisiana Family Forum to develop a plan to promote better science education. Their website included a document, A Battle Plan: Practical Steps to Combat Evolution by Kent Hovind. After a reporter's inquiries, the document, which called evolution not a harmless theory but a dangerous religious belief and blamed it for atrocities by Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and Pol Pot, was removed from their website. The earmark was withdrawn from the bill. Chick tracts. The most widely distributed anti-evolution work, Big Daddy, was first published in 1972 and revised several times. It is one of the controversial Chick tracts, comic strips intended to convert people to fundamentalist Christianity. Material from Hovind was incorporated into the 2000 revision. Politics and Conspiracies. Hovind has made controversial remarks regarding conspiracies, science, creation, equal rights, religion, and government. His presentations on creationism and evolution are a mix of Christian fundamentalism and conspiracy theories. His creationist presentations have asserted that creationism is not taught in public schools due to a New World Order conspiracy, established by Satan and involving Ted Turner and Jane Fonda, the British royal family, the State of Israel, the American Civil Liberties Union, which he calls the American Communist Lawyers Union, U.S. government officials, business leaders, and social activists. In May 1999, he claimed the implementation of the NWO's World Domination Plan was May 5, 2000. Hovind has several conspiracy theories about the U.S. government. He has claimed that the U.S. government was behind the 9/11 attacks and the Oklahoma City bombing. Regarding UFOs, Hovind recommends books by conspiracy theorists who believe some UFOs are U.S. government experiments with electrogravitic propulsion as opposed to jet propulsion, while others are satanic apparitions. The Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC, criticized Hovind for referring followers to books by Irwin Schiff, a tax protester who has been convicted of tax evasion multiple times. The SPLC has criticized Hovind for pointing his followers to Citizens Rule book, popular among anti-government patriots, and to Media Bypass, an anti-government magazine with strong anti-Semitic leanings, and for selling of books such as De Griffin's Fourth Reich of the Rich and Peter Kershaw's and Caesar's Grip, and recommending the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, a well-known anti-Semitic hoax. Hovind claims that the cyanide-releasing compound Laetrile is a cancer cure which the U.S. government is conspiring to suppress and that diseases including HIV, Gulf War syndrome, Crohn's colitis, and rheumatoid arthritis and Alzheimer's were engineered by the money masters and governments of the world for the purpose of global economic domination. He has denounced democracy as evil and contrary to God's law, and called global warming a communist conspiracy. In his lectures, he claimed that the United States government was implanting pet tracking microchips into people, allowing them to be tracked by satellite, even though the transponder range made that impossible. On his website, Hovind associated the UPC barcode with the mark of the beast, and wrote that there were reports of people paying for groceries by having their hands scanned in 1999. YouTube copyright controversy. On September 16, 2007, the Rational Response Squad complained that Creation Science Evangelism was filing spurious DMCA requests, resulting in their YouTube videos being taken down, and their account banned. In response to the copyright claims, the RRs threatened a lawsuit. At the time of the complaints, the CSE's website indicated the videos were not copyrighted, and the CSE encouraged copying and distributing them. 5 days later, the CSE copyright page was changed to say that copied material must be left unedited. According to a spokesperson for the Electronic Frontier Foundation, CSE's claim was clearly bogus, and as of September 25, 2007, the Rational Response Squad account had been reinstated, and some of the videos had been put back online. Legal problems. Escambia County, 2002-2006. On August 15, 2002, Hovind was arrested for assault, battery, and burglary in an incident with a CSE secretary. The charges were dropped in December. On September 13, 2002, Hovind was charged with failure to observe county zoning regulations for Dinosaur Adventureland, a misdemeanor. In April 2006, the Dinosaur Adventureland buildings were closed by county officials, and the Florida Circuit Court found the owners in contempt, ordering fines of $500 for each day the buildings were used. Hovind argued he did not need a permit due to the nature of the building, but after a 5-year court battle over the $50 building permit, on June 5, 2006, Hovind pleaded nolo contendere as charged to 3 counts, constructing a building without a permit, refusing to sign a citation, and violating the county building code. Hovind paid fines totaling $675. Federal civil tax matters, bankruptcy, and renouncing citizenship, 1996–2006. Hovind was originally reported to the Internal Revenue Service by Pensacola Christian College Senior Vice President Rebecca Horton in the mid-1990s, after she learned of Hovind's anti-tax stand. Hovind's organization had neither business licenses nor tax-exempt status, nor was it considered a church by people who worked there. The ministry's organizational structure was described by the United States Tax Court as appearing to be based on various questionable trust documents purchased from Glenn Stahl, a known promoter of tax avoidance schemes, leading the court to conclude that Hovind used these trust documents as well as other fraudulent means to conceal the ownership and control of his activities and properties. According to the IRS, Hovind earned $50,000 a year through speaking engagements, and in 2002 alone, CSE sold more than $1.8 million in merchandise. On average, Hovind made bank deposits in excess of $1 million each year, and eventually that grew to about $2 million a year. About half that income went to employees who were salaried or were paid hourly wages. However, Hovind derived substantial revenue from these activities that appeared to be income to personally. On March 1, 1996, Hovind filed a Chapter 13 bankruptcy petition to avoid paying federal income taxes, claiming he was not a citizen of the United States and that he did not earn income. He claimed that as a minister, everything he owned belonged to God and he was not subject to paying taxes for doing God's work. On June 5, 1996, the court dismissed Hovind's bankruptcy case, finding he had lied about his possessions and income. The court upheld the IRS's determination that his claim was filed in bad faith for the sole purpose of avoiding payment of federal income taxes and called Hovind's arguments patently absurd. It also said that the IRS has no record of the debtor ever having filed a federal income tax return. In 1998, the IRS requested account information about Hovind from an internet provider after Hovind made claims on an internet broadcast about his own tax law noncompliance, going back to the 1970s. When the provider initially balked, the courts granted a subpoena on the basis that the IRS could demonstrate that Hovind had received income but had filed no income tax returns going back to 1991. In 2003, Hovind would tell the New York Times, "I haven't filed a tax return in 30 years." On May 13, 1998, Hovind and his wife filed a power of attorney and revocation of signature document in Escambia County which would nullify any of their promises, debts, or legal agreements made prior to April 15, 1998. The Hovinds claimed they had signed government documents due to the use of various elements of fraud and misrepresentations, duress, coercion, under perjury, mistake, bankruptcy, and argued that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. The document referred to the United States government as the bankrupt corporate government, renounced the Hovinds' United States citizenship and Social Security numbers to become a natural citizen of America and a natural sojourner, and referred to their home state of Florida as the State of Florida Body Politic Corporation. Judges and the IRS did not appear to honor this as a legally relevant document in future decisions. In 2002, Hovind was again delinquent in paying his taxes, and unsuccessfully sued the IRS for harassment. At various times, the government alleged that Hovind had not filed personal U.S. federal income tax returns for the years 1989 through 1997. In the spring of 2004, the IRS conducted an audit and criminal investigation regarding Hovind's unfiled personal federal income tax for 1995 through 1997. IRS agent Scott Schneider said, "Since 1997, Hovind has engaged in financial transactions indicating sources of income and has made deposits to bank accounts well in excess of $1 million per year during some of these years, which would require the filing of federal income taxes. On June 3, 2004, the IRS executed a search warrant on Hovind's home and businesses to confiscate financial records in attempt to deliver notices of federal tax liens of $504,957.24, which Hovind refused to accept. Agents confiscated $42,000 in cash found in various places in the residence. 6 guns were present, including an SKS semi-automatic rifle. That day, Hovind withdrew $70,000 from the CSE bank account, half in cash. On July 7, 2006, the United States Tax Court found that Hovind was deficient in paying his federal income taxes in 1995-1997, totaling $520,099. The tax court ruled that the IRS had a valid lien on Hovind's property and said that Hovind's defense was based on bizarre arguments, some of which constitute tax protester arguments involving excise taxes and the alleged 100% voluntary nature of the income tax. With penalties, he owed $3.3 million for tax years 1998-2006 by 2013. Joe Hovind was ordered to pay $1.6 million. Federal criminal tax-related trial and convictions in 2006. On July 11, 2006, Hovind was indicted on 58 counts in the district court in northern Florida in Pensacola. The first 12 counts were charges for willful failure to collect, account for, and pay over federal income taxes and FICA taxes in connection with the CSE operation, totaling.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.